Hello, fellow students who have problems with APA. So basically, this is the owl.purdue.edu, and this particular website talks about the different APA Style 7th edition guidelines. So the general format, you can see it here at the lower part. There's this sample paper that they have created, and this can be used as a guide for us students who are submitting our writings. So you can see here, this is the example of professional paper APA title page. And okay, the arrangement of each of it. So we have the title page. Next is the abstract. In the abstract, you will notice there's this keywords. And uh, in the example here, it's making use of a block style, which doesn't have any indent on it. So it will depend on our teacher what kind of APA formatting do they prefer. I do have teachers before that have preferences for 1 inch indentation for each of the paragraph. So right now I'll talk about the in-text citations, which is the common problem when it comes to writing. Now, as I keep on mentioning, when it comes to plagiarism, as long as a material is not properly cited, it's being counted by the system as a plagiarized work. We don't want our works to be um, notified as a plagiarized work, especially if we really did our best to make sure that we didn't copy paste anything from the internet. So, how do we actually create a paper with proper in-text citations? So, as you can see here, in-text citation, capitalization, quotes and italics, slash underlining. Always capitalize proper pronouns, including author names and initials like D. Jones. And if you prefer or if you refer to the title of a source within your paper, capitalize all words that are 4 letters long. So these are very important when we are writing papers. Example is this one, permanence and change. Exceptions apply to short words that are verbs, nouns, pronouns, adjectives, and adverbs. Example, writing new media, there is nothing left to lose. Now, short quotations, this is also one of my mistakes before. When we say short quotations, it falls on a particular number of words. Now, for words or long quotations, like 40 words and above, please make sure that you create a block for them in order to cite it. This is one example of it, a block quotation for 40 words or more. Now, when you use or when you write in-text citations, since the material here is complete, I'll just give it a basic summary using my Google Docs. Others are asking where can we get materials that we can use for citations. We can actually get it, or we can actually get some from Google Scholar. Just type in Google Scholar and look for it, or just directly type scholar.google.com. And let's say, for example, this one, Chinese education system, because this is one of my previous uh, subjects. So you can see here that there are actually a lot of writings that we can cite, and all of these are uh, written by scholars. Okay, let's try this one. How to create references. For those who have asked me before, they kept on asking how to create proper references. Before you create your own citation, don't forget to create your reference list first because it's really hard to cite a paper without the proper references or without the proper list of references. Now, in APA formatting, normally. And if you want it to have a hanging indent, please make sure that you're showing the ruler in order to make sure that this is um, present when you work. Just make sure that the lower part is half an inch indented, and this will help you a lot later on once you type in your references. Example is this one. Here, Chinese education. So the writer here, this is the title of the article. It was published April 2007, and this is the name of the author. That alone explains everything. So we can also use this cite this article in order to understand what are the different components when we are citing. So you can see here, this was revised in March 2007 and accepted 2007. Issue is 2007. So better to use 2007 in order to not confuse anyone who's reading. Okay, these are the keywords. Here. Okay. You can see here how other references are cited. So this is affiliations, okay. School, okay. Now the article itself is this one. Now if we're going to use this particular citation and copy it and paste it here, make sure you can see the hanging indent already. Make sure that you follow this simple list. So the first is the author. Author. Next is after the author dot date. So this is the format of APA. Next is the title. The title should be in italics, and the source or the kind of material that you are, or the kind of material that you want to cite. Now in this one, we can see here that the citation that we copied is not in APA format. Now there are a lot of kinds of citations, and what we need right now is the APA. So the first thing that we have to do is to make sure we understand how to dissect our materials or the resources that we want to cite. Ngok or Ngok is the name of the author. So after this, it's mentioned here, we should cite the date, and the date is 2007. After the date, we have to make sure that we cite the title in italics. So the title here is from here up to this. We have to make them in italics. Next. Last is the source. Now, for the source, we have here Asia Pacific Education here. Yeah, I think there's still there in italics and from. Now, if it's an actual book that you want to cite, you don't need the links for citation. Now, this is how we can cite it properly for our APA formatting. Another thing is, let's say, for example, there's no date. So I'll copy this one. We have one format that I think one of our classmates who explained this to me further. So if there's no date, which means it's ND, we have to make sure that we type in the word retrieve and the date we retrieve it from what particular source. So, example, I'll give this as an example, though we know that this has a date. Example is this one. If let's say, for example, this has ND. This is just an example. So if this is no date, after our title, so it's here, but since we have this up to this page, dot, sorry, I forgot the, okay, there. Retrieved, okay, June 8th, 2021, from the website where he took it from. So I hope this is clear. This is for the references. Now, next is the in-text citation. Since we already know, or we can now use the references for our citation, don't forget these two. These two are very important. Now, the pages will come in handy later on. And if you're going to, I forgot something here, it's pages for, okay, pages 142, just to make it clear to our, or for our readers, what are they, or what are those numbers from. Okay? So, example, according to, and you can use this as your reference already, no, comma, and this will sentence you want to cite. Okay? Another example of an in-text citation, no, okay, mentioned or cited or however we want to statement 2007. So this statement here should be italics because this should come from the material that we would like to cite. Another is, let's say for example, you would like sentence or sentences that you would like from the material. After that, so instead of having only the 2007 in inside our parentheses, we actually create or we actually make it both the author and the date. Now, for block, as mentioned here, for the block citations, because you have cited 40 words more or more than 40 words, you can use this kind of format. Now, another thing that I also do, let's say for example, the material is too cramped and it's hard to look for the actual word, we can state the number of page, let's say 142. This one can be page 157. This can also be page 150. Oh, sorry. Now, let's say for example, our what do you want to cite came from a website. an article, a blog, or something, I'll be using this particular reference also as an example, but I'll be using now the ND. If you want to cite them, better if you use the word paragraph compared to the word page. Though it is also encouraged, but in pages, since you've already cited the pages, it's easy already to locate what part of the article, or what part of the book rather, you would like to cite. We can also do page 142, para 5, if it's at the bottom part of that particular page. But if it's at the top, page is already good. Now, it's quite different if you're going to cite one article published on the website. Why? If you're going to cite that one, there's no pages. So, better to use para or paragraph. Example, book citations, book or yeah, any publication citations like newspaper and stuff. Now, this one is good for, according to. Now, instead of adding the page, we add the word paragraph. Sorry. Um, I've mentioned if it's not too long of an article, and it's on the top, the one that you want to cite is at the top, you don't actually need to add the paragraph. But if it's somewhere at the bottom part of the article, it will be better if you cite the number of the paragraph it's located. That way, it's easier for your reader, together with the professors, to read from where did you get your citation. Now, please remember that when you cite a particular material, the best way is to understand first, of course, how to write it as a reference. Next is which of these two is that particular citation. Just always remember that if you're going to read another paper and you would like to verify or validate that particular citation, what's the easiest way for you to find it? The best way is to, of course, cite the author, because you can look it down or look it from the references that you have cited. Next is page. What page can I see this particular citation? Next is the paragraph number. So I hope this simple explanation of how to use references and in-text citations help everyone and help us guys avoid plagiarism in the future. That's it. Thank you.